it would be a relaxation time for me because that is my preference. It's also possible. So that's how it becomes more meaningful when you read the conversation. Once you read it, reread it, or a couple of times you read it and reread it, it should make sense to you first. Only then, taking up the problem too seriously, I would prefer to think about the problem. There are n number of people, innumerable people there out in the world. Hello, hi, namaste and welcome to Vidhyaashram, the Temple of Excellence. I am Nanda Kishore, Faculty of English in Vidhyaashram, Mysuru. In my previous session, I had discussed about offering help, which is one of the language functions prescribed in your first PUC workbook. And in today's session, I am going to discuss asking about preferences, which is almost the 13th or 14th language function, and remaining 3 or more I will be dealing in the upcoming sessions. Let us start with what is asking about preferences and what sort of language functions you are going to make use while you are asking about preferences. Very first thing, variety is the spice of life. Of course, it is very true because we cannot live with one single thing. In simple, we cannot just keep using only one brand. Today, you enter the market and you find n number of brands, be it shoes, cars, motorcycles, mobiles and electronic gadgets. And each one of you might have your own preferences. Somebody might prefer iPhone over Nokia, somebody might prefer Samsung to MI, and it depends on your taste and your preferences. Each one of us has individual preferences, be it in areas of food, very true, and that is the very main cause why we are earning our money, clothes, courses that we choose to take special interests, etc. As per the description given here, think about it. You walk into a restaurant and somebody might prefer vegetarian to non-vegetarian. Somebody might prefer ice cream to sweets. And when you walk up to a mall, you have so much of taste for the clothes because each one of us want to wear a branded one, or maybe not. At least we want to wear a cloth which will impress others. Or if not, at least we want to wear a cloth which will suit our body, which will make us feel comfortable, isn't it? So let us see what are the preferences we get to see in the workbook. In a classroom, it is a classroom situation. Suman, what would you be doing in the evenings? Shreya, she says, I prefer going for a walk in the park. How about you? So I prefer sitting on the couch like a couch potato and watch a cartoon. Yes, when I say this, you might be wondering, such a young man, grown up, he wants to sit and watch cartoon? Why not? It would be a relaxation time for me because that is my preference. I would rather watch DC movies, let us say like Avengers, right? I love such movies. I would rather watch opera at times. It depends. I would rather even watch Amazon series. It depends on each and every individual. Here, Shreya is saying, I would rather go for a walk in the park rather than being at home or being like a couch potato. Suman will answer, I would like to watch TV. A sort of a guy like me who will just love to sit on a couch, right? Sipping a cup of coffee or a tea and watch TV, television. Relaxation time, the best relaxation time you can ever have. The second one, so it is between friends or amongst friends. So how do they prefer? What are the preferences? Ramu, what kind of a person will you choose as your wife? This is very interesting, where most of the young men and women will have this debate or a conversation, possibly. And Govind says, I would prefer a tall, very clever, a tall. There are criteria while choosing a bride or a groom, because each one of us have a tendency. I have seen a lot of such cases where the discussion is taking place and each one of them, they have their own preferences. A tall, fair, terms and conditions, look at it, fair, slim, young woman as my wife, not hefty, right? Very slim, just like zero figure, right? And what about you? Govind questions back to Ramu, and Ramu answers, I would rather choose a simple person who is sincere, loving and patient. Patient, not sick, in the sense who has some patience. A clever answer by Ramu, but Govind prefers, he is not worried about simplicity, or maybe even if she's not sincere, it's fine. Yes, you might be wondering what sort of a person is Govind. There are n number of people, innumerable people there out in the world who would prefer this criteria rather than this. It is their preferences, and you cannot blame them. You cannot say that they are wrong, because it is their preference. They prefer such kind of quality woman rather than this. It's just like you might own a Benz car, Audi, Lamborghini, Porsche, but just because other people travel in Maruti 800 or Swift or any other brands, they are not wrong, because their preference is totally different from yours. You could afford to buy a Porsche car. You can go and afford a big toy car, but they cannot, because it's their preference. Now let us move on. Now this is the conversation between a boss and a subordinate. So how do they prefer? Boss, your transfer order will be ready in a couple of days. Transfer order. You can choose between Pune and Chennai. Either you choose Pune or Chennai. Which one would you prefer? And subordinate, he says, I prefer Chennai to Pune. Maybe he is very fond of South Indian cities, or maybe he belonged to South India, who knows, or maybe even he could belong to Chennai itself, right? This could happen in banks. At times, bank employees will be transferred from one end to other end of the country, maybe one end of city. It is possible, even the branch changes could happen. But here it is a situation where the city is being changed. They are asking, or the boss is asking his subordinate to switch or to choose between Chennai and Pune. So he chooses Chennai to Pune. It is between. You should know that. So he says to. He is not saying I would rather choose Chennai than Pune. No, he is choosing Chennai to Pune. Instead of Pune, he wants to go and allot himself in the city Chennai. At a travel agency. Now, this is the conversation between two people in a travel agency. Customer, I would like to fly to Delhi on 21st of this month. Customer is asking, and travel agent will ask for the preference. Now, do you have any preference for any airline? Because there are multiple airlines these days, Kingfisher, Deccan Air, Jet, SpiceJet, right? There are a lot of different airlines, different companies, like Etihad when it comes to Dubai, Arab, right? When you want to go to Arab countries, Etihad or Emirates, even that is one of the travel agencies, travel company, airline company. Customer says, I would choose Jet Airways. So he is preferring Jet Airways. Travel agent asks, that's fine, okay. I'm going to book a ticket for you to Delhi. But how about booking economy class or business class? Remember, in airplane, there are two segments, economy and business class. Business class, the ticket fare is too high. In economy class, any commoner could travel. Can I book a ticket for you on the morning flight? He is asking whether you want in the morning or in the afternoon or in the late nights. So he says, yeah, customer, thank you. He's asking, thank you. Yes, it is possible, right? Customer says, thank you. You can do it any way possible. Maybe you can book the ticket in the morning or in the afternoon or in the evening. Anytime is fine, right? And if you want to build up a conversation, let us imagine that you are asked to develop a dialogue between a customer and a travel agent. If it is asked for 5 marks, maybe you can develop a couple more conversations. So you should develop the sense of including or coming up with new dialogues in between before you wind up the conversation. However you build it, it should make sense when the evaluator reads it. I'm sure that I have told you plenty of times the same thing. It is up to you to develop your own answers. But make sure once you read it, reread it, or a couple of times you read it and reread it, it should make sense to you first. Only then it will make sense to the evaluator. Now let us move on. Expressions used. Think about it. I like ice cream more than cupcakes. It is your preference. I prefer chicken biryani, or let us say I prefer gobi to paneer. It is possible. Dash appeals to me more than that. Something else, right? You know, traveling in a Benz car appeals to me more than traveling in a bus. Preference. So traveling in a car is more convenient to you. You could just take a stop whenever you need, but that is not the case when you travel in a bus, right? So that is your preference. I would rather sit alone than being with them. You prefer being alone. I would usually choose to buy a Raymond shirt in preference to clothes. It is possible. Raymond's, Louis Philippi, anything. It could be any brand. Reebok, Nike, Adidas, any branded shirt. I find comfortable, much more satisfactory than, there are two dashes here, clear. I find watching cinemas or watching a cinema or watching a movie is much more satisfactory than watching an opera. An opera, a serial, a daily serial where most of the women sit in front of the television and watch, right? I enjoy dash better than, it could be anything. I enjoy bicycling, so-called bicycling, better than driving a motorcycle. So it's a physical exercise. Rather than jogging or rather than running, I would prefer to walk slowly. Because few people, they cannot run. So rather than running, I would prefer to walk slowly. Or rather than taking up the problem too seriously, I would prefer to think about the problem in finding a solution or in a way to find a solution. It's up to you. There are a lot of preferences. Let us move on. Activity 1. So there are two blocks, block A and block B. In block A, you find situation, and in block B, you find the response. So what is this? In block A, it is situation. At hotel, you are asked whether you prefer ice cream or juice. So you are going to match it here. It is clearly given here. A is going to match with 3. I would prefer juice to ice cream. Your father tells you to stay in a hostel. So out of these two, it is my choice would always be to stay in a paying guest accommodation rather than staying in a hostel. And C, the career counselor advises you to take up a course in hotel management. So you prefer, I would choose management studies rather than hotel management course. Let us move on with activity 2 here. In activity 2, the example is given there. Your friend offers you coffee, but you prefer tea. Answer would be, I prefer tea to coffee. Your friend is offering what? Coffee, but you prefer tea to coffee. So remaining 2, it is for us to solve it. To your boss who offers you a cup of tea. So you would say, I would prefer coffee to tea. Because your boss is offering you a cup of tea, but you prefer coffee to tea. To someone who joins you in a restaurant and asks you for your preference. Remember, I told you restaurant. I have already given you the example. So I would prefer non-veg meal to veg meal because I love non-vegetarian, right? And few would love vegetarian. It's left to you. You might prefer vegetarian to non-vegetarian. Those who love non-vegetarian would prefer non-vegetarian to veg meal. Now, activity 3, and in activity 3, it is pair work. Since we are doing online classes, I would do it myself, but you can choose any of your siblings or maybe your cousins or your friends to work on this. Create a conversation based on the following picture. So what do you think is happening here? We can see that there are 2 customers or clients who have come to a restaurant or a hotel, right? And they are asking for a room. So that is the situation here possibly. And the receptionist is asking for the preferences. So that is usually a common sense where we could think of, and that is the context we can develop the conversation on. So let us start the conversation. I'm starting with a blank page here. So first thing, I'm just going to write the abbreviation, simple 1 letter. Receptionist, R stands for receptionist. Receptionist, how may I help you? Right? You walk into a hotel or a lodge, they would ask you, yes, how may I help you? C stands for either client or customer. Or let us say, can I or can we is also possible. Can we get a room, please? I'm just using simple words. You can improve your own answer here. Can we have a room, please? Right? Or can I get a room, please? It's also possible. Right? And a receptionist would ask for the preference. Would you prefer? Now she is asking, would you prefer AC, air conditioned room, AC, or non-AC room? That is how the preference will be asked, because we are talking about the topic asking about preferences. So customer, I would prefer AC room to non-AC. It's also fine. And receptionist should always respond, here you go, sir. Room number 101 is all yours. Right? It's all yours. So that's how the conversation ends. And to be on a safer side, let us wind up the conversation. Thank you. After receiving the key or keys of the room, you would thank the receptionist. Thank you so much. And if you want to develop a conversation more, you can always write, happy staying, sir. Or happy stay in our hotel. It's also possible. So that's how it becomes more meaningful. When you read the conversation, it makes complete sense here. I always tell you, the conversation or the dialogue should end in a meaningful way. Next one, we have activity 4. Customer, I would like to buy a mixer. In your workbook, it is mixie. Mixie is nothing but mixer. Shopkeeper, we have all good and reliable brands. So customer says, let me see them. Shopkeeper, these are with 3-year warranty and those are with 5-year warranty. So being a customer, which one would you prefer? Now, would you go for 3-year warranty or would you go for 5-year warranty? It is left to you. It's your preference. Let us say few people, they want to go for 3-year warranty because they think 3-year warranty brand, or let us say the mixer which comes with 3-year warranty would also serve for 5 years very easily. Not just 5 years, I have seen people who would just run the mixie for 10 long years as well, because it depends on how well you handle it. Because the brands which are offering 3 years would definitely run for 5 years at time. I'm not saying all the times. Most of the times they would run longer than the warranty period. So if I am the customer, let us say if I am the customer who wants to buy a mixie, I would prefer 3 years. Because I'm sure that based on my handling, it would run for 5 years or even longer. If it runs short before 3 years, if it is spoiled or damaged, then of course I have the warranty to claim, 3 years warranty. So somehow I am convinced, or let us say I'm attracted, or let us say I am making up my mind to go for 3-year warranty mixer to 5 years. It's simple. It's left to you. As I told you, most of them would think 3-year warranty mixer would be costing around 2,500 rupees approximately. I'm just telling you, okay, just imagination. I know it would cost around 8,000 or 10,000 rupees these days. And 5-year warranty mixer would cost you around 3,200 rupees. It's just a matter of 700 rupees, but still those people who are very calculative, they would go for 700 rupees more and I would get 2 years more warranty. Why can't I go? Right? Which will double the warranty. If I am there in that position, possibly I would think this way as well. It is left to you as a customer. Next one, activity 5. In an ongoing discussion over deciding the college working hours, the principal suggests a change to the shift system. As the secretary of the Students' Association, how would you present or represent their preferences? Create a conversation. You are the Students' Association secretary. You are the secretary, and how are you going to address this problem? Student secretary, sir, students, now it is a dash there, right? So we have to convince the principal. Let us see what principal tells before we build a conversation here. So based on this conversation, let us build the previous conversation. We are forced to resort to these timings due to shortage of rooms. Student secretary, students find dash more convenient than, okay. Principal, I'm sorry, I can't do much about it. So principal is not going to agree. How would you begin the conversation here? Student secretary, sir, students are preferring the earlier, right? Because we are talking about the shift, and the students are preferring earlier in the sense the before, the previous schedule, the earlier arrangement easier or better, however you want to write. Better or convenient. Arrangement convenient is also fine. Right? They are preferring it. Arrangement convenient. Principal says we are forced to resort to these timings due to shortage of rooms. Student secretary, students find, yes, see here, students find, or you can just change it here, preferring the earlier arrangement, or students are appealing for the change in the timings. However you want to do it, students find earlier timings more convenient than the present. Both seem the same, but you can change the previous one depending on the conversation. Principal, I am sorry, I can't do much about it. You can change it if you want here. The students are requesting to change the timings or the time shift. We are talking about the shift system here. The time shift over the present time shift, or however you want to develop. So this is how you can build a conversation. This is just an activity to develop your language skills. I tell you, I have already told you, I'm going to tell you even further down the lane, because we still have 3 or 4 activities left. Agreeing and disagreeing, ending the conversation, and couple more. And while I speak about those activities as well, I keep telling them, you have to build a conversation, write the conversation which will make more sense rather than just writing or filling single line. When you read the previous line, it should make sense when you read the next line, the previous and the following line. So that is about today's session. I'm going to meet you in the next session. Until then, keep practicing. Have a good day. Take care.